with it.
Yo, what's going on?
That's me hitting him up. He cruising out here. He must be going to a show.
Baby, you said you have the medicated grease?
Yeah, the little yellow bottle, little yellow container. I set it in the, it's right there where you can see it.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Now it's about skin repair, All right, okay. Yeah.
Motherfuckers out here flying this morning. They in a hurry.
Oh, they outside, huh? I need to hurry up.
Everybody outside flying. Oh, Walmart's a mess.
Really? Damn. Oh, I want to pick up some soup. Because we got this pizza. I'm going to bring this pizza out so we can eat on that when you come home. But I still wanted to get you some soup.
I need some bananas.
Right now,
for my fingers.
Yeah. So right now, I'm in the middle of getting all of the information together for August family reunion. I gotta get that together, being that I have my 1-year anniversary together. Right now, I'm just looking for outfits for that. And the next thing is the August family reunion. So I need to write down all the directives. I need to take it off of here. So that's what I'm doing, love. And a little bit there. See, if I go into that office of mine, it's a wrap. I'm on that computer and start doing shit that I ain't getting paid for. So let's stay right here.
Cousin got him a used washer and dryer. A GE, he done fucked up.
Scott Jennings laughed at this former Obama official when she made this ridiculous claim.
And I would agree with Dr. West. As the world as it should be, we should not have nuclear weapons. I agree with you 100%. The world as it is, the president of the United States, I worked for an anti-war president, and I saw, no, he was. He ran against.
How many countries did you bomb the crap out of?
Well, that's what I'm going to say,
Lord
Scott.
have mercy.
But no, like you guys didn't just use bombs for diplomacy.
But you want to put the scorecards up against each other?
I'm
between
happy
bombs
to put
and
up
drones?
scorecards.
You all are the key.
I got a lot of scorecards.
The continuity that work in both parties. In both parties.
3-year-old man out of New York City has died due to his injuries from an illegal alien who pushed him onto the subway. And DHS funding technically was passed in the still of the night, but TSA agents are still nowhere close to being paid. So much drama to get to in this video. Well, let's hear exactly what happened in New York City. Take a listen.
Now, tonight, sadly, another horrific attack is making news all over New York City. Remember the 83-year-old veteran? The one that was shoved onto the subway tracks? He is now dead after that illegal immigrant from Honduras pushed him onto the tracks. Now, take a look at your screen. This criminal has a rap sheet a mile long. He has been deported not one, not two, not three. He's been deported 4 times. But it appears he likely walked right back into the U.S. across Joe Biden, Kamala Harris's, and Mayorkas's wide open borders that they lied to us and said was closed and secure.
So here's the real issue. 4 deportations and he's still in our country. What does that tell you? It tells you the system's broken. It tells you that one political party literally has blood on their hands. It tells you one political party does not believe in immigration laws. And it also tells you that the Republican Party, they need to wake the hell up. Because I tell you what, if we can't get the Save America Act passed, if we can't do anything for the American people, the Republican Party will lose again. And one day, Donald J. Trump will leave that White House, and guess what's going to happen to our country then? I'll give you an example of that. Let's go to the mayor himself, who presides over this city where that man has tragically died. Here's what he had to say.
I think first and foremost, we're making clear that no one is above the law in this city, that everyone has to follow the rule of law. And I have made clear to the president, both in our private conversations and our public conversations, about the fact that I believe that ICE is a rogue agency. It's a reckless one. It's one that delivers nothing towards the furthering of the cause of public safety. And I've also been public about my belief that ICE is an entity that should be abolished.
You heard it right there. ICE should be abolished. I wonder if he has any energy for someone who is 83 years old, a veteran, died because of the crimes from an illegal alien. Of course, he's not going to say anything about that. Just like Mayor Brandon Johnson, just like Karen Bass, this is exactly what we get when people buy into their delusional empathy that they like to sell on their campaign or during their campaign, that is. Guys, I'll tell you what the term is. Again, it's fatal empathy at this point. Anytime they want to use empathy to reach across the aisle to the criminals or the illegal aliens or whoever they're sympathizing with, it leads to fatal outcomes.
Yeah, Sean, it's another terrible example of what can happen here when you have people who aren't supposed to be in the United States committing these crimes. This 83-year-old veteran and a grandpa is now gone. He didn't make it. He died at the hospital. His family telling the New York Post they are heartbroken after he was shoved onto the subway tracks by a guy DHS says should have never been in the country in the first place. So this is him, 34-year-old Bayron Hernandez. He's facing murder charges here. DHS tells us that Hernandez is from Honduras and he came into the country illegally. Last week, police say he was at a subway stop on the city's Upper East Side. You can see him there. So he was caught on camera that day. He shoved 2 guys onto the tracks. One man was able to get off pretty quickly, but Richard Williams hit his head on the tracks. He was rushed to the hospital and he did not make it. DHS tells us Hernandez has that long rap sheet you mentioned. We're talking 15 prior charges for what? Well, assault, domestic violence, and drug and weapons charges, just to name a few. The feds say he's been deported 4 times, but just came right back into the country.
So let's get this straight. They want to abolish the agency that is supposed to get someone like him out of our country. How do you make sense of that exactly? That's number one. Number two, the way they try to explain their position is by ignoring the reality of the policy. Now, in case we have not made our point here on the show regarding this particular story and how Democrats claim that ICE is only going after people who are not worst of the worst, 70% of people do not have crimes. Will this guy do it for you? Take a listen.
DHS says Hernandez has a long rap sheet. I'm talking a lot of charges, 15 prior charges. We're talking assault, domestic violence, and drug and weapons charges for this man.
So it seems like he has a rap sheet to me. So why did it take 4 deportations to finally catch him after he has committed a heinous crime? Is that enough for you, Democrats? Is 30%? It doesn't really matter. Guys, if you're not catching on to what I'm saying, their main talking point is ICE is a failure because 70% of the legal aliens that they have arrested do not have crimes. You following what I'm saying? That means they want you to be distracted from the 30%, according to their math, who are criminals. Now let's go to Sheridan Gorman. Her family continues to speak out for good reason because the perpetrator, the criminal, he's in court today virtually.
The Venezuelan man accused of killing 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman is expected to appear virtually for his first court hearing this next hour. This is a new picture we obtained of Jose Medina in the Cook County Jail, where he is being held in the medical division with tuberculosis. Today, prosecutors are expected to lay out more details from their case against the 25-year-old illegal immigrant who allegedly ambushed Sheridan Gorman and 3 of her friends as they walked out onto a pier late at night last week and then shot and killed Sheridan as she and her friends were running away. This past hour, the Gorman family released a statement saying, in part, what happened to Sheridan was not a reflection of the Loyola community. It was a result of a failure outside of it. Both things can be true. Loyola is a place of opportunity and safety, and there were failures outside the university that must be addressed. Sheridan's hometown in New York will be honoring her life this weekend at a community vigil.
You see, here's why this matters. This isn't just New York. This isn't just Chicago or Los Angeles. This is across the country, folks, particularly in sanctuary cities. And I just find it interesting that these raging liberals who are crying about communism and that our president wants to be a king and a tyrant and a dictator, it seems like they are too distracted from what's really happening in their own backyard. It's interesting. They have no energy for these victims, none at all. No protests, no burning down businesses, no rioting in the streets every time an American citizen gets killed. Imagine if they did that.
Surveillance cameras captured Medina leaving the crime scene and walking to his apartment a couple of blocks away, where police found a gun that matched the shell casing recovered at the scene. This murder of a college freshman less than a mile from Loyola University is hitting close to home for a lot of students on campus.
It's definitely really scary because going to the pier to look for the Northern Lights is something that I feel like a lot of us have done.
I feel like when it gets a lot darker, you feel a bit less safe.
I definitely am a lot more paranoid going out at night. Just yesterday, my friends invited me to go out at around like 10 o'clock, and I definitely didn't feel very comfortable going out.
Now, of course they feel that way, but the question is, how will they vote? Do they actually support what ICE is doing? Something tells me the answer is probably no on that. Now, I'm not lumping all of these students, but part of that university, into one group. I'm just stating the obvious, which is we have a disconnect in our society. On one hand, we scream about crime, but on the other hand, when we actually have an agency who's willing to do something about it, we say, I didn't mean that way. Well, what other way do you think this is going to happen? 20 million people unvetted in the country. What do you want ICE to do exactly? Ask nicely? That isn't going to happen, because these illegal aliens have been emboldened to not only run, but evade arrest. In fact, they have agitators and protesters and American citizens helping them evade arrest. Let's not forget about multiple judges that have all been indicted, arrested for doing that.
Well, let me ask you this. If there's such a problem of violent immigrants in our country, why were they able to put thousands of ICE agents in our airports to hand out bottles of water? I mean, it just shows that this was a solution in search of a problem, and the American people had asked for violent individuals to be removed, and we have now found out that 94% of the people who have been arrested and deported are non-violent individuals. And so the real issue that we have in our country right now is that there's a lack of trust between Americans and ICE and Border Patrol, and nobody is asking for more funding for Border Patrol. Everyone would like to wait a lot less time at the airport.
All right, let's take a moment and talk about something serious. How many of you guys have been punished because of your credit? What am I talking about? You're out there, it's the Senate in the still of the night, 2 a.m. passed this DHS funding bill, which it's still not over with. This is just step one of the process. The bottom line is both sides did not get what they wanted. Republicans did not get a fully funded DHS, meaning everything according to that bill would fund DHS except for ICE and Border Patrol. And Democrats didn't really get what they wanted, which is reforms to ICE and Border Patrol.
The Senate just reached a deal to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. That proposal, which would fund TSA but not ICE, now heads to the House, where it must pass by the end of the day before Congress leaves for a 2-week Easter recess. The standoff on funding has caused nationwide headaches at America's airports, with TSA workers going 42 days without pay, leading to mass call-outs and long security lines. News Nation's Brooke Schaefer is live at Miami International Airport with what exactly is in this deal. Hey, Brooke.
Hey, Marky, good morning to you. As you said, the House still needs to vote on this, but this Senate deal, a key step towards ending this partial shutdown and, of course, getting these TSA workers paid. Of course, still a few steps before that can happen, but this Senate deal is being viewed as a win for Democrats. It does not provide funding for ICE or Border Patrol that Republicans had been fighting for. It also includes money for officer body cameras. However, this deal does not include any changes to immigration enforcement. Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune called the results unfortunate, and he says some battles will be left to fight another day.
Okay, so number one, TSA still is not going to get paid because the House of Representatives have to vote on this, and we're already seeing that this may not actually go the way they think because some of the reporting suggests that Republicans in the House will not actually vote for this unless the Save America Act is attached to this in some way, shape, or form that forces Senate to vote on it. So we'll see if that actually manifests itself in a real update to the bill. Secondly, again, the problem with the federal government and the pay system, let's say all of this passes today. They're still not going to get paid on Saturday or Monday. It's going to take a while for them to catch up. But I don't know what's worse at this point. Chuck Schumer and Democrats continuing to spew dangerous rhetoric, or Senator Leader Thune accepting defeat because of his weak leadership. Listen to it for yourself.
But we are out of time for the critical responsibilities and tens of thousands of workers currently going without pay. And since Democrats have made fiscal year 2026 the year they choose to repudiate one of their most basic responsibilities as members of Congress, to fund the government, this is what we have been reduced to.
Democrats held firm in our opposition that Donald Trump's rogue and deadly militia should not get more funding without serious reforms, and we will continue to fight for those reforms.
And again, I think there is no such thing as the word pressure unless these airports absolutely shut down and strike. I wish they would have did that because I just don't believe the pressure and the burden should be on the shoulders of the CEO airlines or the TSA employees or the GM of these airports. No, that burden, that pressure should be on the members of Congress. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And let me just show you, again, the attitude that we're already seeing coming out of the House of Representatives on the Democrat side. Here's what they're saying about this bill.
You have this bill pending. Your recess is coming up very quickly at the end of the day. How will you vote if this bill funds most of DHS but not ICE, which is just one of the demands the Democrats were making?
Yeah, I've been consistent for weeks now that a path forward, if Republicans aren't willing to accept the reasonable reforms for ICE and CBP, a path forward is to fund all the other DHS agencies, get our TSA agents paid. So based on what I know of the agreement and the legislation, I'll support it and I'll keep fighting to reform ICE and CBP, but I'm not going to vote to give them another dime until those reforms are in place.
I have a constituent in my district who was picked up by ICE. He was in the Adelanto detention center and passed away. What do I tell his family? That I ended up continuing to support and fund an agency that has caused one of their loved ones to perish in custody. This is something that we've seen time and time again. Or the The mother, she was 8 months pregnant, was picked up one day. I tried to go and see her the next day. She wasn't even in the system. The next day we find out she was already deported, 8 months pregnant, back to Nicaragua. So my constituents, my district is very different than a lot of other districts, but so they know that I have to put up a fight.
See, I had a good discussion with Sean Spicer yesterday about this very issue. What are we talking about? We're talking about the level of resistance this administration has faced. Even though it's clear that the president had 4 years to prepare for the presidency and who would be in his cabinet, etc., and they came out of the gate swinging, no doubt. Definitely organized, definitely planned, and executed a mass deportation operation. Now, as time has gone on, the opposition has gained a little bit more ground and has increased their level of resistance. And the problem here is they have a lot of people in the American public, particularly people in the middle, buying into their propaganda.
Just about 12 hours after the Senate passed that bill to fund most of DHS, it looks like we could be headed for a train wreck in the House, because rather than just passing a version of the Senate bill funding TSA and getting out of town, there's a possibility that the House is not going to simply vote for the Senate bill and vote for a different bill. Chad Pergram is monitoring it all. He's on Capitol Hill. Chad, this would be bad because this would mean that TSA agents would not get paid.
This would extend the shutdown. And of course, President Trump had said that, by executive order, he would try to make sure that they got paid. But this was always going to be the wild card when the Senate passed this overnight. Would this be able to command the votes in the House of Representatives? You had progressives who said that they would probably vote no because there were no reforms to ICE. But there are a lot of Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, and also Rosa DeLauro, the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, who signaled that they were for this. They said that this is a win. And so we thought that with a combination of some Republicans and maybe lots of Democrats, they could move this through the House. But in the past 45 minutes to an hour here, House Speaker Mike Johnson, after a conference call with his members, has talked about a proposal of a 60-day interim spending bill to fund all of DHS, fund ICE, fund the Border Patrol, and what that would do if that were to pass the House of Representatives. They would lose all that Democratic support. As I always say, it's about the math. They would have to do this on their own. But the problem is that they would be out of sync with the Senate. What happened that the Senate was doing, and this always ticks off the House of Representatives, is when they jam them. They send over something and they say it's take it or leave it, which is what happened when they left in the middle of the night last night. So what would happen here if the House were to pass this? The Senate is meeting in what they call these pro forma, these abbreviated sessions for the next 2 weeks. The next one is Monday at 10:30, and they would have to take it or leave it, whatever the House passed.
So that's why I said TSA agents, they're not getting paid anytime soon. This is still going to have to work itself out. And this is really only step one of the process. All right. I guess it's fitting we go to this other update because I think this deserves attention. So there was an ICE agent caught on video saving an infant from choking at the JFK airport. Look at this.
DHS releasing dramatic video from JFK's airport here in New York. That shows that ICE agent jumping in and helping an infant waiting in line. The infant had stopped breathing. Happened apparently a couple days ago on Wednesday. The agent apparently performing the Heimlich maneuver, which restored the child's breathing after nearly 2 minutes. Wow. So the DHS secretary, fresh on the job, Secretary Mullen, calling the agent's actions heroic.
So here's why this matters. For obvious reasons, a life was saved. That's number one. Number two, it shows that ICE agents are not the boogeyman that Democrats want the American people to believe. Now, again, doesn't it seem like a recurring pattern here? What they did to President Trump is what they're doing to ICE agents. It's the same thing of what they did to Elon Musk. Whenever they want to go after someone, they want to make them out to be literally the devil in all of their rhetoric. But when you can cut through the noise and actually see them for who they really are, you find out, yeah, that is so far from the truth. But it didn't stop Representative Ilhan Omar, who obviously committed immigration fraud, from mocking them in a post. Watch this.
We're busy doing nothing, working the whole day through, trying to find lots of things not to do. We're busy going nowhere, isn't it just a crime? We like to be unhappy, but we never do have the time.
Yeah, so that's what she posted, mocking them, of course, and It's kind of the same behavior that we saw with people calling out black people who happen to be ICE agents too. It's all the same behavior. It's political theater. It seems like she's busy doing nothing except playing around with her brother so she can advance her career and her finances. We know she's knee deep into fraud, okay? I think she's got better things that she should be focusing on. But again, it goes back to what I said earlier in the video today. I'm not too sure Congress will really do anything about Ilhan Omar, right? But these are the games. Let's follow this up with more confirmation of how they truly feel about ICE agents. Watch this.
This is not normal. These guys aren't doing a damn thing. They weren't qualified to be here in Minnesota. They're not qualified to be at the airport, and they are dang sure not qualified to be anywhere near a polling station.
So, Governor, what are they qualified for? I mean, he knows something about qualifications. This is a man who lied about being a retired command sergeant major, the rank of E9. Okay. That's a total lie. Stolen valor is what I'm talking about here, folks. Now, some of you guys may not even understand it. So bottom line is this. We're talking about a man who claimed that he retired as the vice president of sales. Come to find out, he never was officially granted that title. He was the assistant vice president of sales. I mean, you would argue, yeah, you weren't the vice president of sales, bro. I'm trying to find out the best analogy here, but the bottom line is this is a man who doesn't know anything about qualifications because in some ways he's not qualified himself. So he projects. I guess federal employees are stupid. That's what he wants us to believe. It's a total joke. But the real joke is what happened at the airport when ICE agents were actually laughing at agitators. Watch this.
No thoughts. You guys are the foot soldiers of a fascist regime, right? Is that not what it is? Is that funny? Is that funny?
Yeah, so what type of person literally runs up to law enforcement agencies and tries to harass them, right? An individual who's not in control of themselves emotionally or their mental faculties. But I guess it's no shocker because this weekend is going to be full of them on the streets as the No King protests are going to erupt across the country. Now, again, as I said throughout this video, if we had a king, these protests technically would not even exist. If we had a dictator, a tyrant, these people would probably be murdered in cold blood in the streets. That's not happening. So it seems like the king they say we have is nowhere to be found. Listen to this.
Organizers are hoping tomorrow's No Kings protest shatters records. They estimate millions of Americans will turn out for demonstrations across the country. So take a look at this map. Each dot represents a scheduled No Kings event to protest President Trump and his policies, more than 3,000 of them nationwide. The group, Home of the Brave, put out a $1 million ad buy in support of No Kings, which includes this message from one of the officers who defended the Capitol.
Yeah, and so they released an ad to try to get people to turn out, and we already know the type of people who will be at these protests. A percentage of them don't even know why they're there. They don't even know what they're protesting. They're paid to be there. And then a certain percentage actually believes in the delusional lies. And I say that it's because they essentially won't even hold their own side accountable for the same crimes that they say the president is committing. So I think we all know what it is. But I wanted to show you guys that because while TSA employees are still not getting paid, people are rioting in the streets against this administration. It just doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay. Well, let's hear from you guys in the comment section to all of these stories, whether it's Sheridan Gorman, once again, the 83-year-old man, veteran.
He is the founder and CEO of HYPE, which stands for Helping Young People Excel. Charleston, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, man. So were you raised by both parents? Were both parents in your home growing up?
No, sir. I'm the product of what I like to call the typical traditional African American home, the single parent home, right? 73% of African American homes in this household are headed by single black mothers, and so I'm the product of that. But back during that time, I was born in '77, so the '80s, there was somewhat of a stigma to single mothers, and then there was not a lot of help for single mothers. And so my mother was the backbone of our family.
Did you have any relationship with your father growing up?
No, sir, I didn't.
No contact at all?
My dad was in the Navy. My dad retired from the Navy. and battle with mental illness. And so I probably can count on two hands how many times I've seen my father in my lifetime.
So what was it like for you not seeing him and being with him growing up? Did you yearn for him, or what was it like?
All children, especially boys and girls, yearn for their father. There's a strong desire.
Yeah.
Not having a father there, right? And your mother not having the words or the understanding or maybe the time to explain to you what it's like to not have a father, right? So most single mothers are working. So as a kid, you have questions. Where's my dad? Why is my dad not here? You may have a neighbor. I had a Hispanic guy by the name of Brian Alaniz. Brian Alaniz had a father. So I spent the night at Brian's house. Spending the night at Brian's house gave me a dad at times, right?
Yeah.
So you get to see what a family structure looked like. Then when you go home, you have questions. You have internal thoughts. So as a kid growing up, mom working. So when I'm getting out of school, mom's going to work. You feel unloved, right? You feel rejected. Then that turns into hurt. So there's a pain that just simply revolves around the fact of a father being absent, that this kid is feeling, right? He can't articulate it, right? No one's sitting him down and he's not going through counseling. So that's where the behavior begins to transpire, right? So you're feeling unloved, you're feeling abandoned, you're feeling rejected. That hurt begins to turn into anger. But the anger is just a smoke screen, right? You really want, so as a young man, I got all these emotions inside of me. And so when I get to school, I got the PE coach, I got the math teacher, or I got the school police officer. When he confronts me, hey, young man, you need to pull your pants up. Well, all these emotions causes me to resent him.
Yeah.
So I got this displaced anger, right? He's done nothing to me, but he's a man. He's a male authority figure, and I want him to come home with me.
Yeah.
I wish he can come home with me. So I resent you telling me what to do, trying to correct me, and you can't come home with me. So I began to hate you, and I began to despise other men, other male authority figures, mainly other black men.
So I read that you ended up becoming a part of a gang when you were younger. What made you?
Go ahead.
What made you get involved with gangs? What made you get involved with them?
It was everything I was looking for. Coming from a single parent home, never been spanked by a man, never been disciplined by a man, never been corrected by a man, never been hugged by a man, never had a man say I'm proud of you, never heard a man say I love you. So the older guys in the gang gave me the affirmation that I sought to have from a father figure.
Did you know at the time you were doing it because you were looking for the love of a father?
No. You talking about a child with an underdeveloped brain. They don't know what they do. Yeah, you talking about an underdeveloped brain kid. Everything that a kid does is all impulsiveness, right? Based on what they feel or what their friends are doing. I just wanted to belong. It wasn't a matter. When you're going through what you're going through as a kid, you don't know I'm doing this because Dad not there.
Right.
You just know you feel something.
Yeah.
You just know you was born into a condition. You was born into a situation where your dad's not around. You don't know that's not normal. So I met a kid. Go ahead. I met a kid once before here recently, and he's had both his mom and his dad. And so I asked him, hey, what's it like to have both your mom and your dad?
Yeah.
He couldn't understand what I was saying because he don't know what it's like not to have it.
That's right.
So to grow up and every child you see don't have a dad, that becomes normal. It's the house with the dad that everybody say, hey man, they got a dad over there. So you don't know until you grow up. and you can look at your life and assess your life where you can start connecting the dots. But when you're a kid, it's your environment, it's the conditions, it's your nurture, the foundation of your home life dictates what you're going to go outside and become.
It's interesting. It's interesting in that your mother brought you out of poverty, or and bought a home. She got a job, and you and your brother ended up with your own rooms and everything. And yet that wasn't enough for you, because I read that you decided to run away from home and go on a crime spree, which led you to murder at 14 and go to prison and all that. So it's interesting how
I've never been to prison.
I mean, jail.
Let me just say this.
To jail, right?
I went to juvenile. I went to a boys' home.
Oh, okay.
Let me just say this.
Okay.
Culture, right? Culture is way more influential, way more powerful than home life, upbringing. Let me give you an example. There was a time when black people hung from trees, and there was white people standing in the crowd saying, I don't agree with that. But they wasn't gonna speak out because culturally it was okay to hang. There was a time when white people said it was okay to enslave black people, but there was a part of the people that says, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
But culture says, we're gonna do it. So you put your head down based off what you was raised. But overall, the culture influences it all, right? That's why culture is so strong and so impactful. So here I am. I'm born into a culture that goes against what my mother teaches us.
Yeah.
I'm born where my culture, I got my mom saying, you need to go to work. I got an uncle who I see on a regular basis by way of being family members. He a pimp. I got a grandfather who sells drugs. I got another uncle who sells drugs. When I look across the street, I got another neighbor, he's getting out of jail for robbery. My cousin. So when I come inside and I cut my television on, I'm born in 1977. Think about the culture then. Pimps was glorified during the black exploitation film era.
Yeah.
Superfly, the Mac. So I'm growing up watching all of this on the culture. I got a mother going to work. My culture don't show me mama going to work, but I see mama going to work. All the things that my culture present to me is negative.
Yeah.
And I have these same negative images, not just in my family, they in the community, they at my friend's house, they outside the school. So biblically, my mother says that the Bible says a son can do nothing without his father, that he can only do what he see his father does. So if there's no father around, who do you mimic? Mama. So I know a lot of young boys who didn't have no uncles, didn't have no brothers, didn't have no male cousins. So they was the little boy sitting down peeing outside when we were standing up peeing. So I seen a whole lot of little boys who was mimicking mama. So they sat down and peed until they went to school.
Yeah.
So I had uncles and mimic, right? So Confucius said, he who controls images controls minds. My little mind was being controlled based on me being young with a young, impressionable mind. So it's not that I went against my mother. I have a culture. You got NWA, the police. So all of this is being pushed upon us as children culturally.
Yeah.
Boys in the hood, menace to society. They take away the Cosby Show. They take away a different world. So culturally, man, all the negative images is being propagated to me. So I literally grew up believing that men, for one, don't work, because I've never seen a man get up and go to work. I grew up believing that men went to prison and went to jail. So I aspired to be a man. How do you become a man? You gotta go to jail. So I wanted to be a man.
That's
I heard you saying, Mama, you're a woman, but I want to be a man.
Yeah.
So, I set out to be a man.
So when you were hurt someone, did it ease your pain?
No. Hurt people, but hurting people don't take away your hurt. You just hurt other people. No, it don't. You're as a kid, you can't process this. You're trying to ask logical questions for a kid to give answers to an adult, when the brain process, all the medical, all the data, all the science and research that we have in this country says the human brain does not develop to at or around age 25. That's why the insurance rates don't go down till after 25. So they got this information. So when you got a kid that grew up in a single parent home, just take me for instance. I've never been abused, hadn't been molested, never seen my mama get beat up, didn't grow up in a violent neighborhood. My mother wasn't on drugs. So I just grew up without a father.
Yeah.
Right? But I had a loving mother who instilled right and wrong, morals and values, but she had to go to work. And she provided a great home life for us, right? But she had to go to work. So when I was getting out of school, my mother was going to work. What does that leave me? No parental supervision. We got all the food in the house. So my mother's saying, leave your homework out. When I come home, I'm checking your homework. I'm calling at such and such time. So we knew what time my mother breaks were. I got an older brother who a couple years older than me. They're gonna get in trouble. Boys are gonna be boys. Kids are gonna be kids. Teenagers are gonna be teenagers. The element of all of this is not the single mother. It's the village. It don't take a mother and a father to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child.
So when
we keep saying, what about the mother and the father? What about the village?
How long were you in juvenile?
I spent right at 7 years from the age 14 to 21, best time of my life. We were considered the worst. We're the first generation of children in the state of Texas who began committing these murders. I'm the super predator generation, right? We're the first generation of kids outside of California, Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia, where children were committing murder. So this was in the late 80s, early 90s, where they said, hey, we got a wave of black children that's gonna be born, and they're gonna be super predators. They're gonna be bigger, they're gonna be faster, they're gonna be stronger, they're gonna be heartless, and they're gonna be incorrigible. That's what your Democratic leadership said. They're gonna be incorrigible. And the word incorrigible said that we weren't gonna be able to change. So when they made that statement, when Joe Biden made that statement, Hillary Clinton made that statement, it sent a shock wave of fear through America. And so they started making laws, tough on juvenile crimes. So they started sentencing 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds in this country, giving them life without parole, with no possibility of ever getting out of prison for things that they was doing at age 12 and 13 and 14 years old. So I fell in that first group of children. It's just that I had a governor. I went into a juvenile facility where people was working with children who committed some of the most heinous crimes. I'm talking about some of the most heinous crimes in the history of this state. And they still treated us like children.
Because of time, I want to ask you a few other things here. Do you believe that I know that there's no such thing as racism. I believe that our battle is a spiritual battle, a warfare between good and evil, right versus wrong, and no such thing as racism. It's a spiritual battle.
We not dealing with, that's why I say racism is so far embedded. My generation can't see it. We don't know what racism. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. I'm with you. We looking for racism, and racism is too deep for us to see.
Yeah.
You got to go deal with an old motherfucker to deal with racism. So we dealing with good and bad.
Yeah.
Right and wrong.
Yeah. And so, would you call yourself an alpha male or beta male?
Shit, I'm whatever I need to be. Shit, you talking about I ain't nothing. Yeah, I'm whatever I need to be. Shit, you talking about I'll be a beta male to get what I want. Yeah. No, man, I ain't trying to be nothing all the time.
What is a man?
I ain't never seen now, brother.
So you don't know what it is?
Nah, I was raised by my mama.
And what is love?
Love is action.
And what do you mean by that?
Love is what you do. It ain't what you say. Love is about not what you can give, but how much can you take. See, most people think, oh, I love you, so I give you this. No, I don't give a what you give me. How much can you take from me? How much can you put up with me? If you love me. See, most people really quit you, homie, at the first sight of a flaw. I may have an issue, and my only issue is I keep doing this same issue. You go get, how much do you love me to put up with that and hope that I can overcome that issue? So I understand what love is. It ain't about what you can give me, it's about what you can take. I don't have a problem. My love is about use. When you go to misusing me, that's when you don't love me. But you can use me and love me. It's when you misuse me when I think you don't love me, because if you misuse me, you'll start abusing me. But if we're in a relationship, if we're in a partnership, if we're in a friendship, our ability to grow with one another is our ability to use one another.
So do you love all people?
Hell no.
You don't love all people?
No, man, I don't love no gang banging mother shooting up my neighborhood. I don't love gang members.
But why not? They can't help it because they are in anger too. They can't understand what they're doing because they didn't have a father to guide them. Why don't you love them?
You ain't never heard me say no shit like that. You ain't never heard me say I went out and killed somebody because I ain't have no fault.
Well, you just said because you were looking for that father.
I didn't say we killed nobody because we were looking for nothing.
No, I'm talking about joining the gang and things like that.
I told you as a kid, I didn't know I was looking for no daddy. I didn't know I was out doing this.
But they don't either.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I was willing to pay for my wrong.
Right, but do you understand that the other gang members? But do you understand that the other gang members are looking for a father as well, and they don't know it?
Listen. It's a whole lot of gang members ain't looking for no goddamn father.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I know I was in the gang with them. Listen, hold on. You speaking from a stadium way up there in the stands trying to dictate to the players down on the field. You spinning the bullshit narrative, Mr. Peterson. Listen, you trying to spin a narrative of children join gangs, not grown adults with fully functional developed brains. No kid is saying, hey, I'm joining the gang because I'm looking for daddy. It's the attributes that the gang have available for the kid that replaces what the father didn't get don't provide in the home. So don't spin that narrative, homie.
But so do you believe that if those adult gang members had fathers growing up, would they be in a gang? Would they be a part of a gang as an adult?
Listen, I know who had daddies and mamas join the gang. I know guys that had, I know well-to-do, affluent people who join gangs with mothers and fathers.
And why would they join them?
I don't know. I ain't had a mother and father to be able to.
I know, but have you ever asked those grown ones, the ones you ran into?
Listen. I don't know no grown people join gangs. I don't know no grown-ups join gangs.
Oh,
You're talking about children with undeveloped brains, mostly come from traumatic childhood backgrounds, dealing with mental health and substance abuse problems. What they go join?
And so, but you never ran into an adult along your way of life since being in the world. Have you, especially since being out, and now you understand what's going on? Have you ever ran into adult men or women who are in gangs and they didn't explain why? You never ran into that?
I used to teach a class, and I want you to hear me good. I used to teach a class for all the adult prisoners that came back to Fort Worth, Texas, that was released from prison. at the Central Parole Office on McCart. I used to teach the class every Tuesday and Thursday with an organization with other chaplains. The main chaplain was Chaplain Jerry Carpet with Welcome Back Tarrant County. And I tell you, I have never met a grown adult member to coincide with what you're saying, brother. Maybe you should come down here and meet some of these gang banging. I lived in LA with them. I know all most of the original founders of the sets. I've been inside the juvenile facilities. I've been inside the prison. Right now, I teach an anti-gang cognitive intervention inside the schools that 5 other schools just picked up. I got 20 other men, all businessmen, former NBA players, NFL players, rappers, managers, all coming to these schools with me to teach this gang program. And I'm telling you, I have never seen a grown adult give the reasons of the narrative of what you're trying to spin right now, fam.
So let me ask, America, are you proud to be an American?
When the DC snipers was doing what they was doing.
How our government works. Yes, the Republicans have the House and the Senate, but they do not have full control because there is a filibuster rule in place, which means that in order for a bill to pass, there needs to be 60 votes. The Republicans have voted numerous times to fund DHS. Democrats do not want to fund DHS because they want open borders. They want to abolish ICE, which is extremely unpopular with the American people. Every poll has shown that yes, some Americans, maybe a nice percentage of them, want some reforms with ICE, but a very minority only wants to abolish ICE. Most Americans believe in some type of immigration enforcement with ICE and believe that we should be deporting criminals, and 60% believe we should be deporting all illegal immigrants. So this notion that abolishing ICE is popular is not true. It's popular with the radical left of their party, the far left fringes of their party who hold up abolish ICE signs. So this is what the funding battle is over. This is why. So if the Democrats want ICE to leave the airports, then all they have to do is vote to fund ICE. Stop playing with these people that are missing their paychecks, that are missing their money because DHS is playing, because the Democrats are playing games because they want to, and this is what people need to understand. This fight, that's happening with DHS is over open borders. This fight is over illegal immigration. The Democrats are willing to shut the nation down. They're willing to completely destroy America in order for illegal immigrants, whether you believe in illegal immigration or not.
At some point, we have to stop pretending this is normal because it's not normal, it's not sustainable, and it's definitely not what the American people signed up for. 2, Department of Homeland Security shuts down in a single year, right? 2 shutdown, Department of Homeland shutdowns in a year, right? So in one single year, we had 2, and both driven by Democrats when it comes to these 2 Department of Homeland Security shutdowns. That's not leadership. That's not governance. That is pure dysfunction dressed up as a strategy. And they expect you not to notice. But here's the part they're not telling you, and this is where it really starts to fall apart if you actually think about it. Core enforcement agencies like ICE don't just vanish when there's a shutdown. They already been funded through prior legislation. ICE is already funded until 2029. So when they come out and start sounding the alarm, acting like everything is on the verge of collapse unless they get exactly what they want politically, you got to ask yourself, what is this really about? Because it's not about keeping the lights on. It's about leverage. It's about using instability as a weapon to force outcomes they can't win through honest debate. Meanwhile, the areas that actually impact your day-to-day safety, disaster response, cybersecurity infrastructure, the systems that protect American citizens in real time, those are the ones getting squeezed into the process, or squeezed in the process. And people are starting to catch on to this. This is where the shift is happening. Because when politicians start playing games with national stability and the media refuses to explain it in plain English, trust doesn't just erode, it collapses. That's why I say every time the media lie, I will sit here and tell the truth to inform you guys truthfully and just having an honest conversation and continue to sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're trying to figure this out, but also continue to see what reforms to keep this country going in the right direction as being pro-American, which I am for all of us, right? Legal immigrants, Black, Hispanic, white, you name it. So the American people are not stupid, right? We are not stupid. We see the chaos. They feel the consequences. They're living in it. And there's only so long you can spin narratives before people start connecting the dots and saying what needs to be said, which is enough is enough. Because at the end of the day, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. And what we're watching unfold right now is confusion by design. Democrats are out here playing in everybody's faces because they're out of options. This is what desperation looks like. They had 4 years, where the border was effectively wide open, where enforcement was weak, where policies incentivized illegal entry, where illegals came in. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to believe they are concerned about order. No, we had a president who ran on closing the border and executing the largest mass deportation effort in U.S. history. And now that those promises are actually being pursued because the American people have spoken and voted for President Donald Trump, Democrats are fighting it tooth and nail. Not because they care about the country, not because they're worried about humanitarian outcomes, but because it disrupts their political calculus. These illegal immigrants, in their eyes, are future voters, new constituents, a pathway to long-term power. You know, power greed, right? They say money is the root of all evil. Money is not evil, but the way you look at it and your mindset can make it evil. So money is not the evil sentiment. The way you use money in good or a good outcome or a bad outcome is what makes it evil, right? Power, greed, and that's what we're talking about here in the name of leverage. So that's why they resist things like the Save American Act, even though we have overwhelmingly a majority of Americans backing this, and that's what the American people want. That's why they push for mail-in systems with weak verification. That's why they're comfortable with loopholes and that make it easier for fraud to slip through the cracks. Dead people voting, violence with no accountability. We had dead people on Social Security, right? Receiving Social Security benefits. Systems that prioritize access over integrity. It's not accidental, it's intentional, and people are waking up. More Americans are starting to see through the noise, starting to question the narrative, starting to realize that what they're being told doesn't match what they're experiencing. And we got a lot to get into here because this isn't just about politics as usual. This is a turning point. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I want you guys to check out this next video, seriously.
They want to have murderers come into our country. They want to have open borders, and we're not letting it happen. That's what this is all about. They don't want voter ID. They don't want proof of citizenship. They don't want mail-in ballots. They're so corrupt. What they want, the only thing they want is mail-in ballots. So we also added, as you know, into the Save America Act. And it's called Save America. It's not the Save Act. But we added no transgender mutilization of our children and no men in women's sports.
And this is the part that really should bother every single American watching this, because what we're talking about here are policies and priorities that are overwhelmingly majority of Americans actually agree on. Border security, election integrity, enforcing the law, making sure that the country is stable and safe. These are not fringe ideas. These are baseline expectations for a functioning nation. And yet somehow you got a group of politicians, elected officials, people who are supposed to represent you, supposed to carry out the will of the American people, of actively refusing to do it. Not because they don't understand what Americans want, but because they do understand and they're choosing to ignore it. And that's what makes this so disturbing, because this isn't confusion, this isn't incompetence, this is willful defiance of the people they were elected to serve. And when you step back and really look at it, it starts to feel a whole lot like something we've seen before in history. Taxation without representation, only this time it's on a much larger, more complex scale. You're paying into a system that is actively working against your interests, right? Every vote, for example, every time an illegal vote, it discredits a legal citizen, it discredits an American citizen vote. It discredits a legal immigrant American citizen vote. Your tax dollars are funding agencies and policies that prioritize illegal entry over legal citizens. That weaken election safeguards, like I said, using that example instead of strengthening them. And that creates chaos. And then you use that chaos as a justification for more control. So like, for example, you may see some states and blue states saying, hey, we don't want ICE coming into our state. Just give us the money. We'll handle it. But if that was the case, then why crime was running rampant and still running rampant is why the crime rate is so bad in your state if you can handle it all this time. What, Trump been in office, what, like 15 months? Proves my point. Memphis, you see how that cleaned up. Kids are being able to play. People are able to go outside, stare on their porches, being able to enjoy the nice day, the nice summer day, the nice spring coming up. being able to drink tea and watch their children play and be children and not tablet babies, right? That's the beauty of it, man. I'm a 1999 baby, you know, and you know, I'm fairly young, but you get my point. Back then, it wasn't all this tablet, mobile, jobo. I think the 1999 to 2000 was the last of it before the technology really took over. What, you know, babysit, tablets, babysitting babies, and you know, things like that. But in all while, right, this is justification for more control, because chaos to them is a justification that we need more money. Not to actually fix the situation, but to justify why we need more money and just throw money at the problem, but there's never really no effective solution. And that's why you may see Donald Trump saying that these people are crazy. And it's hard to negotiate with someone, or it's hard to even sit there and try to create some type of reforms if they don't even care to hear what you're saying. It's like talking to a wall. Like, do you hear me? I understand what you're saying. Can you acknowledge what I'm saying? And can we talk on behalf of the American people? But when someone paints you a picture the first time, don't let them paint you another one when it comes to the current Democrat Party as we see it, right? We've seen with the Biden era, right? They didn't care. They don't care. They didn't care. Illegals come in. Look at New York City was swamped. You know, we had illegals sleeping in police stations and things like that, right? And I pray for New York now. They still, unfortunately, still have to learn the hard way on how they're voting. So I say all that to say, they stand at the podium and they tell you it's for your benefit. And that's the part that should make you stop and really think, because if the people in power are no longer accountable to the will of the people, then what exactly are we participating in? What does representation even mean at that point? This is why you're seeing such a massive disconnect between everyday Americans and the political class, because people are starting to realize that their voices are being sidelined in favor of agendas that don't reflect their values, their safety, or their future. And when that realization sets in, it changes everything, because now it's no longer about left versus right. It's about whether the system is actually working for the people it was designed to serve. And I want you guys to check out this next clip.
They tell us why you're making the change from the Democrat ticket to President Trump.
Mr. Trump stated, I'm going to build a wall because I want the people that live here to eat first. Since this new administration has come to the table, my children are lacking. My community is lacking. I see abandoned properties, folks laying on the street. And forgive me, why do we feed folk when we have folks who went overseas, hung, bled, and died in the service of this country, and they're laying on the streets? That's unacceptable.
Absolutely.
If you can house an immigrant, with all due respect, house my children first. These are the people that fought for us. They're laying on the street. They can't get medical assistance because you've given it to someone else. They closed down schools. They opened the schools to put migrants in. You could open a school and put my veterans in there.
Amen.
You could open a school and put my homeless children in there. But yet you refuse to feed those that state that they are here.
Right.
They've been here. You've overlooked them.
And you see how he said, I want to add the context to it so people really, we breaking it down, having a conversation, right? He said, Donald Trump said, I am going to defend the American people and fight for the American people, Americans first. He said, so when this administration came in, he was talking about his local legislators, the mayor, the governor in whatever state he's in. That's why local elections matter. You cannot put everything on the president. The president is basically like the businessman. That's why I believe we need to have a president like a business person, like a Donald Trump when it comes to business, because they basically negotiate to keep resources and making sure that America can prosper when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to money flowing in, when it comes to lowering in the national debt overall from the country and not just throwing money at the problem, continue to spend money, because if you lower the debt, then it justifies not having to tax the citizens, right, across the country, which means we don't need the IRS, right? And the whole thing is, taxes only continue because the American people never said anything. Taxes was only implemented to fund World War II to be exact. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong. We're having a conversation. But it was to fund World War II, and it just continued on because Americans never stood up and said anything, and they just got used to being taxed. But it's not a requirement to be taxed. We just got used to it and let it be what it is without questioning anything. And we need to bring back critical thinking as it was taught in our schools back then, right? Because the simple fact is, if we don't have public officials sitting here, your local legislators, your president sitting here just throwing money at problems, then it wouldn't have to add to the $1 trillion debt, borrowing from the credit card of this country to continue to justify why inflation is happening, because the cost of living go up because we keep spending money unnecessarily. And then they just raising the taxes on American people to death, which helps nobody. And it doesn't help the country because we're going in debt. But if you got resources coming in, you're negotiating with fair policy, fair trade. And we understand that even our adversaries like China and Russia, look, we don't got to get along. We don't got to be best of buddies, but we better together than better apart. And we can be fair and negotiate. You have a resource and I have a resource. America, from all these other countries, the biggest advantage we have is the consumer market. We have the biggest of customers of all to beat all the other countries. That's why we the top of the top. But you're not going to take advantage of our customer base, and all the American customers shipping over here Temu and all these different type of made in China products, but then we can't share our products over there, or at least pay a certain fee to ship your things over here. We've been allowing them to ship things over here for free, but we cannot ship our American products over there to China because China worried about their infrastructure. So we got to bring it back home, and we can also help others, but we can be fair, but we shouldn't depend on others, but we should also be self-sustainable on our own to continue to be the best country in the world, right? So when you think about it, we have veterans, he mentioned. And that's why I said, just to backtrack a little bit, it's not just about your president. Your president just negotiates geopolitics, right, with other countries to make sure resources are coming in there and deals are being made to bring more money back into the country, and the country is protected as the commander-in-chief. Your local legislators, which is like many presidents within your state, actually determine how you will operate and live. So everybody's saying Trump made the cost of living up, Trump did this, Trump did that. But also, even when Trump brings down the cost of gas, for example, your state, even if Trump gets rid of federal income taxes, or he say no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, all your state got to do is backdoor you and just raise the state taxes, and then you blame about Donald Trump and say, oh, because it's the political games they play, and your state, if they raise the state taxes and Trump got rid of no taxes on overtime, you'll say, oh, there's no taxes on overtime. Donald Trump said there was no taxes on overtime. I'm supposed to have more money in my pocket. No, look at your local legislator, because your state is behind the scenes raising taxes on you, so you feel like you don't have more money in your pocket because they don't want more money in your pocket. So you have to make sure you're voting for your governors and mayors. But think about this now, getting to the next point. We have veterans in this country who can't get proper health care. We have homeless Americans sleeping on the streets. We have families struggling to afford basic necessities. And this is why I do this as well. You know, for individuals with disabilities, for individuals who may have mental illness or who may, you know, be in a mental institution that need help and they can't vote, right? It's our civic duty to vote, to be able to stand up for those who can't, right? So it's bigger than us and our kids, generation to generation to come, right? So we have homeless Americans sleeping on the streets. We have families struggling to afford basic necessities. And yet somehow the priority from the left has been to take illegal immigrants and place them directly into some of the poorest, most undeserved communities in America, communities that were already struggling before this even started. Instead of fixing those problems, instead of investing in the citizens who have been here, who have paid into the system, who have served this country, they're saying you can wait. You can struggle a little longer because we got new people we need to take care of. And they're pouring billions of taxpayer dollars into programs, housing, services, all under the banner of compassion. But let's be honest about what's really driving this. This is about building a future voter base. This is about fast-tracking people through a system so that eventually they become reliable, loyal voters for the Democrat Party. That's the long game here. And it comes at the direct expense of American citizens. I've just seen today, family, a guy in California, he was supposed to have a life sentence. Gavin Newsom freed him, and he came out and said, I'm voting for Gavin Newsom for president. It's the same concept with illegals. Let these criminals run rampant. I'm not saying nobody can change their lives, but they are freeing people in the name of pardoning people, criminals, stone cold criminals, overthrowing what a judicial court have said. Because obviously they made that verdict for a reason. Do we always agree with judges say? No, but we can say that across the board for everybody. We don't always agree with what the president's saying. We don't always agree with what our local legislators are saying. We always not going to always agree, but we can have the conversation to adjust or make adjustments effectively. But that's what's being less of being had now, because people want you to go along with what they're saying. And if you don't, you're the problem. And that's wrong, right? Because that prevents productive conversation. But my point is, that's why so many people feel like this is a slap in the face, because of the long game of loyal voter base that the Democrat Party is anticipating to create at the expense of American citizens. Because it is. It's telling Americans you are not the priority anymore. And what makes it even worse is the role of the media in all of this. Because instead of holding these policies up to scrutiny, instead of asking tough questions and presenting both sides so people can make informed decisions, what we get is a one-sided narrative that conveniently leaves out the consequences. The media at this point is not functioning as an independent watchdog. It's acting like a messaging arm for the DNC. If they were doing their job properly, you will hear both perspectives. You will hear what the right is saying, what the left is saying, and then you get the actual facts laid out clearly, doing your own research, and as the American people, you're able to make the choice based on what you believe is lobbying in your best interest as an American citizen. But we don't get that. We get selective coverage. We get emotional framing. We get narratives designed to steer public opinion rather than inform it. And that's dangerous because when the flow of information is compromised, people lose the ability to make truly informed decisions, and that undermines the entire foundation of a free that undermines the entire foundation of a free society. Now, I want you guys to check out this next clip.
President Trump, I'm just a peon. You don't even know I exist. But I hope that somebody will see this video and talk to you and let you know how a lot of Americans are feeling right now. Whether we're on the left or we're on the right or we're in the middle, we're all feeling some hardship right now. And some of us are swimming and some of us are sinking. When is it our time, sir? When is it our time? Just like you have done for all these other countries. Well, they need this and they need that, and we need to help them to turn their country around. Yeah, but what about ours? In the meantime, we have dirty politicians all over the place stealing billions and billions of dollars. And you know where those dollars came from, sir? Not from the rich, not from the wealthy. All that money that these politicians are stealing came from poor people's pockets. Taxes, my neighbor's taxes. We freaking work our asses off 40 hours, if not more, a week. Just for the government to take a big old chunk of it, be like, psh, and then go take it and give it to illegal people. And yet these politicians are still in office. What is happening today, sir? What is happening right now?